I've been following cars since I was a kid in the 50s. Everybody else wanted a muscle car or a Cobra or Corvette. I always had the for Ferrari. My name is John Peterson. I got a 1980 400i stick shift with only 20% ever came in. All the rest were automatics. I've owned the car since '89. I've driven it down at Road Atlanta, the Glen, 8 times at Pocono, VIR, Summit. I've driven it up to Boston, to Gillette on business. I've cruised around all over the place. I've won the 2+2 National Award with it. I've won many platinums. I just finished up with the Garden State Ferrari Fall Festival, getting the Presentation Award in honor of Dick Merritt. I drive it all over the place, have it on racetracks. I've just had the whole thing rebuilt as far as new bushings, engine mounts, distributor rebuilt, the alternators, radiator flushed out, all new injectors. I cruise it. I can drive it down a street 35 miles an hour in fifth, and I've had it tailgate on a Lamborghini at Pocono doing 150, street tires, street seat belts. It's a gentleman's GT. It's the Italy's answer to the Aston Martin. It's a quiet car. It's comfortable. It's injected. The engine is basically out of a Daytona with 17 quarts of 20W50, 2 oil filters, 2 oil pumps, a oil cooler. It's meant to be driven. I've had it, like I said, all over the place. In winter time, if it's no salt, I'll take it out and drive it for a half hour or so, just so everything gets lubricated. So I drive the car, and has a 28-gallon gas tank, so I can go from Suffern, New York, all the way up to Watkins Glen on a tank without refilling. And it's comfortable doing 70. If this was the Autobahn, I could go from Suffern, New York to Albany, which is about 120 miles away, in an hour, because the car wants to be driven at 110 to 120. The car was built in '80. I bought it in '89, sight unseen, through Bill Pollard at Forza up by Peterson, Brewster, New York, and it never let me down. It's been reliable. I had it not even a month, and I drove it all the way down to Road Atlanta for a national event, did the concourse, the rally, and at the same time I drove it on the track for 2 full days and drove it back home. This thing here has power assist, not power steering. You need to have muscles like Arnold Schwarzenegger and a leg like him, because the clutch has no hydraulic or assist. It's just a cable directly into the bell housing. So stop and go traffic, this is a horrible car to drive. But once you're driving it and it warms up, it decompresses you. You just, no more worries. You just drive it, enjoy winding roads like 202. It's boring on, say, the Thruway, I-87, or the Turnpike. The car is all original, never been repainted. The interior is all original ever since the early 60s. I did the Ferrari Fall Festival. I helped start it with 3 other guys. We even had Phil Hill as a guest speaker at our local event, not a national. And he was impressed that I knew so much about the car at being at my young age at that time. I started with Ferrari Club in '85. I was only 36. Following year, 37, I bought a 330 GTC for $28,000. 2 years later, sold for $150 and bought this, the 400i. I've always been into cars. I know a lot of drivers. I was my father's assistant photographer for 2 car magazines. So I've met even Jackie Stewart and Colin Chapman back in '64 at 12-hour Marlboro Endurance. I've met Phil Hill, Oscar Kovaleski, Ray Caldwell, Hal Keck. I mean, just go on and on. I've been with cars my whole life. Today, compared to yesteryears, you need a lot of money. And the only thing is, the newer cars, they're nice, but they're too high-tech and computerized. In a few years, will you be able to get that computer chip or PC board? With these old mechanical cars, if you got a good guy that's a machinist, things can be built. and you can have something, the leather redone on the interior. But the newer cars, they're so complicated, getting parts very limited. It's very difficult in this computer age, and that's why for me I like it stick. It's also theft proof. Most people cannot drive a stick shift, and this thing is so hard to get it going out of first gear with the power and everything else. It's a deterrent.